Hello Scavers, today we're painting the Gang Stronghold for Necromunda. So rack them stubbers and let's do some hobby. So here we have the Gang Stronghold for Necromunda. It's quite a large and versatile terrain box. Inside you get enough parts to make several walls, a watchtower, a gunk tank, and the instructions are pretty comprehensive and they have a recommended layout, but you don't really have to follow that if you don't want to. So we're going to start off by clipping all the pieces off. I'm going to use some sprue cutters for that. I found it was best to assemble the wall sections first and then the corner sections and then the two other pieces of terrain. So lots of little pieces. Going to use a blunt knife to clean all of the mold lines and the connecting parts for all of the pieces. This will take a little while. And then I use Citadel plastic glue to glue the parts together, so the parts will just all fit fairly well together, and as I said, assemble them in sections. So I've got these wall sections here. Even these individual sections are quite modular. You have choices in what kind of windows you want to put in, and the parts themselves can be assembled and slotted together in a few different ways. So I'm going to go and make the fence parts, the gate parts, just sticking them all together. These are the corner parts here, which come with some little railings, and the large watchtower and the gunk tank. So I'm also going to use some of the other Zone Mortalis parts, the ladders and the columns, and this really shows off the versatility in these kits. They're all compatible with each other, and you can make some really quite interesting and modular pieces of terrain. So once we've done that, I'm going to spray everything in black, and I'm going to paint these ones red. So starting with Mephiston red, just going to fairly roughly paint the wall sections in my chosen color. You can use other colors. Going to plan on doing some of these in blue as well. I'm going to paint the railings in the red as well, and then once that's done, I'm going to use Wild Rider Red to do a pretty heavy dry brush. There's no need to be too careful with terrain. You just want to get a good highlight that's visible from tabletop. Now I'm going to use Mechanicus Standard Grey to paint the non-metal parts of the platform. So I'm going to go over all the parts of that, and then I'm going to make it a much lighter grey by using Grey Sear. So I'm going to go and do a dry brush over that, and then a final lighter dry brush of Praxeti White over the top of that. So next I'm going to use Abaddon Black to go back over any parts that I want to later paint in a metal colour, so the chain link and some of the gutters and things like that. So just go all the way around that, and then I'm going to use two metals, Lead Belcher and Balthazar Gold. So mostly Lead Belcher, painting all the silver, so a pretty heavy dry brush on all of the silver parts. Just work your way around, and don't be too careful. If some spills over onto the paint, that's alright. And Balthazar Gold I'm going to use for some of the smaller parts, some of the highlight parts like these glyphs here. And from there you can actually use the terrain like that, it's totally fine, but what I want to do is rough it up. So I use a combination of 4 colours. The first one is Rhinox Hide, and basically I'm just really pretty wildly stippling at the paint. It looks pretty weird at this stage, but now I use Doomble Brown to go back over that, and this starts to build up kind of a rusty effect. Next I'm going to use Riser Rust, and probably more of a very heavy dry brush than a stipple, kind of halfway in between, to really bring out that rusty orange. And then lastly I'm going to use a Lead Belcher to stipple on some parts where the paint's completely worn off. So next I'm going to use Gore Grunter Fur to give an effect like this, and wet running rust in there. I actually ended up not doing this for all of my table because it just took a long time to do this part for not that much benefit. So now I'm going to use some bright colors to pick out some little details like the tap on this pipe here and the little gauge here, some of the cables. There's not too many on this part, but you just want to give a little pop of color. Next we're going to use Wraithbone and Iandin Yellow to make the lights glow. You can be pretty rough on that, it gives sort of like an object source lighting. And that's about it. With that simple technique you can get some really nice grimy terrain effects for your games of Necromunda or 40k. So hopefully that helps in your struggles for supremacy of the Underhive.